And we are back this week with your Amazing Race Season 34, Episode 9, Pit Stop. And of course, I am joined by the amazing, the talented, the winner of Amazing Race Season 29, Brooke Camhi. Brookie Poo, welcome back to the Pit Stop.
Hi, nice to see your face.
Yes, nice to see you as well. I was really excited to talk to you this week about this week's episode because I just felt like this reminds me of, again, I always relate everything to Survivor, but this reminds me of like getting like towards the end of Survivor, the end challenges where it's like a matter of like endurance, puzzle, and just like strength. I love these type of challenges because I feel like anyone can do it. Oh, and we are joined by Bacon. Bacon is back on the podcast. Bacon is back on the podcast.
Bacon knocked out my power. Bacon just did it. So sorry. Bacon. Hold on.
I love it.
Got everything. I need that.
To the
power.
original Purple Pants posse.
Okay.
If Brooke and I are covering Amazing Race, then it's not really covering Amazing Race if Bacon does not interrupt us. So that means, listen, we are doing something right and Bacon is interrupting us. So I love it. It's always good to have Bacon back. But what I was saying was that, like, I just love this challenge is that, like, it's anyone's game. And it's just like there's so many different like pieces to it. However, I feel like in the 4 to 3 seasons of the challenge of Amazing Race that I have seen, normally in these challenges, there isn't really a huge jump in places. Normally, the jump is you kind of see who going home. Like the writing's on the wall, in my opinion.
And I think if this was a single leg instead of a mega leg, then maybe that would have been the case. But we're only halfway through. So,
and again, I feel like, is this the third time Phil has lied to us this season?
I hate to call Phil a liar. I'm a big fan of Phil. But we knew there were going to be some, we're not calling them non-elimination legs. We're calling them like, I don't know, continuation legs.
Right.
I don't think anyone could have foreseen, the COVID leg. But I mean, they had to do something to fill the season, or they would have had to put 15 teams on the season to begin with. So I'm not going to call Phil a liar.
I mean, he's not a liar. No,
but it was convenient marketing. I don't know what you want to call it.
Can I tell you some way? Because I text you this.
Yes.
Can I tell you some tea? That, for the Philadelphia fans, I'm minding my business this week. And, I am in the downtown area having to, go to some meetings. And it's like a whole bunch of stuff in the Philadelphia area, like with these. And I'm like, what's going on? But, I'm just minding my business because, one, I want to pay the parking meter, make sure I don't get no ticket. And I want to, like, do what I need to do. And then when I get out, there's, like, more people gathering around this hotel. And I'm like, what's going on? So as I'm, like, walking back to my car, I'm, like, asking somebody. And I'm like, do you know what's going on? They was like, I think they're filming Amazing Race. I said, I pulled out my phone. I text Brooke immediately. I was like, girl, I think they filming the next season in Philadelphia.
And I said, go see Phil. And what did you do? You didn't go see Phil.
Girl, like, I'm going to not. And so, like, I'm in, like, just, hi, I'm Brice from the Purple. I should have had a little press back. I'm Brice from the Purple Pants podcast.
Let me through.
But I did a little research. Spoiler alert. But I mean, I guess they might be filming the finale or filmed the finale.
Brice, I have always said, I said this, I don't know, I was in Philadelphia, 5 years ago, maybe. I mean, I've been since, but about 5 years ago, I went with the guy that I was then dating, and we did the Rocky Street. You do all this stuff. And they have a street called Race Street in Philadelphia. And there are all of these flags, or at least there used to be, up and down the street.
There.
And we said that they should film it. There has never been a finale in Philadelphia, that they should film a finale in Philadelphia. It is ripe for a finale because of the flags, because there could be a cool memory challenge. And it's called Race Street. Like, I think that maybe they finally listened to what I had to say, because I'm sure I had something to do with it. And I would be thrilled to see a finale in Philadelphia. It's a great city for a finale.
I was like, oh my God, like, is this the stuff? I just thought it was like so weird that I was like, now I'm covering it with the winner of season 29. And I'm just happen to be downtown and I like see all this stuff. And I'm just like, I don't know what's going on, but let me just, do what I need to do.
I don't know how you didn't try and get yourself in the background and then just sort of be on TV. And then when we did the finale of the 35, you'd be like, did you see me on TV? I'd be like, what are you doing? You should have just hidden it for me and gotten yourself on television. That would have been hilarious.
They weren't filming or anything. It was just, it seemed like a production was like setting up and they were like, clearly they were in a hotel and like whatever. But I was just like, what's going on? Like, and then somebody was like, I think it's Amazing Race. I was like, Amazing Race. So anyway, if it's in Philadelphia, y'all mark this, play it back. Cause I told y'all first.
Love this. I love this. Okay. So for this episode, season 34, the not Philadelphia leg, we have 5 teams left, and we are doing a mega leg, which we know means 2 roadblocks, 2 detours, 2 cities, which I love the 2 cities part of it because it does make it more, there at least is a chance for a team in the back to come back to the front. So I wrote down at the beginning questions. Will the Derek and Lewis bromance continue? Will Emily be able to fight through the pain? And then I wrote, will Marcus and Michael finish second and be super pissed? So these are the things that I wanted answered during this mega leg. So they're in Malaga, Spain, which I love this. They're in a new country. I love a new country. And this is where I didn't know this. Pablo Picasso is from, which is cool. And they start the leg by leaving in 2 groups. So we have Derek and Claire. We have Lewis and Michelle. So the front group, thumbs up to the front group. And then group 2 is everybody else. So the problems with group 2 are Emily really can't walk at this point. They start the leg by going down this hill and Emily is struggling. And I feel for her because currently I have a boot on my foot with a couple of fractures in my ankle. So I can only imagine I have trouble walking around the apartment. Imagine, trying to run downhill is so much worse to get to the start of the leg. Imagine you've made it this far. You're top 5. You're at the end. There's basically just a couple of legs left. And you can't move. Like that is, and it's rough because you don't want to be out. You don't want to take yourself out of the race. And then you have David and Aubrey. I like David. He starts talking about how he feels just blessed to be there and they're getting a little bit more airtime. I'm not confusing them with the team that left for COVID at this point. And they're really starting to grow on me. And I like that a lot. Like they were just sort of like extras, like, non-player characters at one point, but now they're in it and they're doing it. Yeah, they are in it. And for the first time, I think for the first time this season, maybe I just wasn't paying attention, we hear about money. So on all of the old seasons, they used to give you a certain amount of dollars for each leg of the race. And if you ran out of money, tough. Like in the old seasons, you could beg strangers for money. And then they outlawed that rule because people were begging people in like third world countries who had very little money for money because they would run out of money. And then the rules when I raced where you couldn't ask strangers for money, but you could ask other teams for money. So you could help other teams out. And now the most recent seasons with COVID, there hasn't been much talk of money because they haven't been taking taxis or public transportation. So what do they really need it for?
Right.
But this one
parking lot.
Right. If you're Emily and Molly, you need it because you're going to pay euros for a parking lot. Just turn around. Anyway, it says you have €0 for this. Like, so also they didn't get any money. There was just a mention of money. Okay. So they run down this hill and they get their first roadblock, first of 2, which is who will be a master of pieces, which is cute because masterpiece. And they have to do a puzzle. I loved this puzzle. This was very Big Brother vibes because I have seen about as many seasons of Big Brother as you have seen of The Amazing Race, but I have seen this challenge on Big Brother before where they have layers to a puzzle and they have to like slide them in and make the layers on top of each other look like the final picture, which is a very cool puzzle.
Yes.
But the pieces to this puzzle probably weighed more than I did. They were very, very large pieces of, I think, plexiglass and like painted plexiglass. And so I'm looking at this. I think for the most part, each team had the less strong member, not Marcus and Michael, but they're both very strong. But most of the women did this task. And so we have Claire, Michelle, Aubrey, Marcus, and Emily. And Emily does this task even with her messed up knee because she feels like it's less running than what might be the second roadblock.
Now, my question to that is, what is the rules of like how many roadblocks can one person do back to back? And like, because I feel like even with her injury, I felt like she kind of had to do this. Not like I felt like production was like, Ashley, no, you have to do this one.
Yeah. So in the old seasons of the show, one person could do every roadblock. And then it was like season 6, maybe, where most of the teams were co-ed and the men were doing every roadblock, where they changed the rules where it had to be more of an even amount of roadblocks. When I raced, it was through the first, after leg 8, each partner had to have done 4. So you had to be even. And then come add the legs after that, you still had to even it out. But I think for logistical reasons, there was an odd number. So someone could have done one more than the other. So I think it was like 6 to 5 on my season. I did 5 of the 11 roadblocks. So now you can do as many as you want back to back. Like Molly could have done the first 4, let's say, but then Emily would have had to do the next 4. It doesn't have to be back and forth. It can be based upon what you believe your strengths are or your weaknesses are. So given the fact that this one didn't have a lot of running or a ton of heavy lifting, you had an assistant to help you lift the pieces. I think that's why they decided that Emily would do this one, because on a mega leg or a leg where you have 2 roadblocks, usually it's whoever does the first one cannot do the second one.
Okay.
Right. So when she saw that this one wasn't, bicycling or running a lot downhill or something, she decided to do this one. Very smart. Also, not so smart, Claire and Michelle pick the 2 stations furthest away from the example, which really must have helped Emily, because normally you'd pick the one closest to the example so you could look at it more easily. And I think that gave Emily a tiny, tiny bit of a leg up. Although a lot of people had a problem with this roadblock. If the pieces were smaller, I think it would be much easier. I think I would have laid them maybe out on the ground on top of each other before sliding them all in back and forth, but I'm not sure what I would have done.
I mean, I thought this was like a great challenge because I feel like it's a mind bender, it's visual, but I was just struggling as to watching it because a lot of people were like, I just had the first 2 raw, but I'm like, well, how you know which one is the first one as opposed to which one is the last one? And then when they were like going back and looking at the photo, I like took a screenshot, I took a photo of it on my phone because I'm like, I really want to like visualize myself in there, and I feel like I would have struggled on this because like I'm just confused. So do you have any insight on this? Like, because I feel like you're a puzzle girl.
So I thought the difficult part of it is that it was all on plexiglass as opposed to the back pieces being like a solid color, like the painting was like white in the background. So you were getting stuff from the back through to the front. So if someone walked by or there was sunlight or whatever, or glare, I thought it was very hard to see the back. And I think the back piece should have been opaque. And what I did like about what The Amazing Race did was that it would tell you, like, for example, Claire checked the first time and it said the saxophone player was wrong. So at least it was telling us what they had wrong. Like Claire had the saxophone player wrong. Michelle had the guitar player wrong. Then it was like, I think maybe it was Marcus. It was like, had this, and this wrong. Like poor. And then it turned out that Marcus only had the back piece wrong for so long. I felt for him.
I was dying at Michael when Michael was on the sideline. Now, normally they're positive. Michael was like, he said he was good at painting. At this point, I've got 0% confidence in him. I was like, oh, God.
They used to be so relaxed. I remember when Michael was doing the Ducati, like, assembly, and Marcus just basically took a nap on the sideline.
He was chilling.
He was like, he's got this. It's fine. And now it's like, does he got this? I don't know. And so they show signs of maybe like, this is the first time they're in the back. This is the first time they're like dead last. And I start to get a little worried for them because, I paused my screen 30 minutes into a 60-minute episode. They were still at the puzzle and they were the only ones left at the puzzle. And there was still other stuff to be done. So,
but we've seen Glinda and Lumumba in the same predicament on a mega leg and still kind of like carry it through. However, like this one is a little difficult for me because
there's
like,
no Charisse there to like.
I mean, there is no Sharif and Linton there. Also, it's like if it's Marcus and Michael and Molly and Emily, like, okay, I love the brothers, but I think I love the twins more. So it's like, whew, okay, but
I don't know. I love them both. At this point, you know what? Honestly, I don't think there's a team. Even Aubrey and David are growing on me so much that I don't think there's a team I would be like, oh, I don't want them to win.
No, at this point, I am happy. And again, this is the first time that I've watched these seasons with you that like I am very happy with the win, like everybody, because I feel like even this time last season with Kim and Penny or Kim and whatever, I wasn't sold on them just yet.
Well, plus we had Raquel and Kayla, which I don't think either of us were super sold on until the end.
I mean, yes, but I also feel I take that back because I feel like after watching Kayla on the challenge,
she is great. Yeah,
like I feel like, but that's also why like I like to stick to my opinions when I see them because it's like I love for people to like prove me wrong. But
right, remember you met Leo and Alana, and you were like, you are just the coolest person. Like
yes, yes.
Well, editing is a thing. We say it. Okay, so. Anyway, so they have to go through this puzzle where you're sliding pieces into a Picasso to make it look like the example. And Claire gets it first on her second try. Michelle has a tiny little mini. I saw Michelle on her Instagram was like, if I'm having a freak out this week, don't message me. And I was like, oh, she's going to have a Brooke week. Like, I feel for her already. And then I watched her and I was like, this is what you were worried about. Like, maybe she had more of a freak out and they just didn't show it. And they were very kind to her. But she didn't even really freak out. She fell a little. She ended up in third out of there, like after Aubrey, who did it, I think, on her second check. She did great. And then you have Michelle, and then you have Emily, who wants to show her daughter perseverance. She's really struggling, but she gets it. Like, this is just the message she's, as a single mom, like, sent out the whole season. I'm really for them. And then bringing up the rear, you have Marcus and Michael. So, yeah. Anyway, once they get out of there, they have to travel by bicycle to this thing called El Cubo, which is a big cube. It looks like a giant Rubik's Cube, and giant. Like, when I tell you giant, it's like many, many stories tall. I mean, probably a couple stories tall. So Derek and Claire are in first, but Derek gets on his bicycle and basically mentions that he has crashed everything.
Everything. Rollerblades.
Mopeds,
skateboards. And
snowboards.
And I'm like, is he being funny? And then it's like at one point, like Claire's like, you can't stop like that, Derek. And then like, I'm like, oh wait, baby boy is being serious.
Yeah,
and
no,
Derek
he's not being
like,
funny.
Every time I pedal, like I'm having like flashbacks. And I'm like, oh my God. And again, another reason to adding to the layer of like what I love about Claire and Derek. Like I already had a love for them going into this, but I think for me, what I find the most endearing about Derek and Claire is that they actually are pretty vulnerable and pretty open and honest with a lot about themselves. However, at times it's masked in like comedy or a funny way. So it's like, I don't think that you really get to sometimes it can go over your head. Like when he was saying like all the things that he crashed and then like, you know, he was talking about how he was traumatized. At first I was like, oh my God, look at Derek just being so whatever. But then like when the commercial went on and I like thought about it a little more, I was like, oh my God, like he's actually like sharing a lot. And the fact that he's like overcoming this and doing so well, and just like you can just even see his hesitation on the bike, it just really had me look at them in a different light. And also just like I loved Claire where she was like I guess she was yelling at first and then she was like, okay, I'm like, I didn't mean to yell. I'm like, you know, like I love that like type of catch yourself when you're wrong, immediately apologize about it and kind of like move forward. I just I really am having a liking for them, although I like them a lot, but you know, my heart is always gonna be where it's gonna be at, and that's
it's in Miami.
It's Miami with Lewis and Michelle, but okay.
I will say at one point when he's like, can I walk the bicycle? I like that she had the self-awareness to be like, okay, well, yelling's not going to work. We need to try a different tack. And she did. And they did very, very well. So they find the cube, and it's the clue for this episode's detour, which was either fish fry or sailboat supply. And this did not seem equal to me at all. Okay.
I had flashbacks of, I forget what challenge it was last season, but I know that Ryan and Dusty were the only ones to do it. It was like in the clear boat. This reminded me of like you go on the submarine and look at the fish, or you could go
that
like
kayak.
and the kayak around the clear boat. This I was like, oh my God, like very similar where it's like One is detail oriented and going to take you a long time. The other one is physically, it's going to take a lot physically out of you. But if you stay strong to the course, you're not going to jump ahead of space, but you can kind of like come the place that you arrived, essentially you could leave in that place.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's totally fair. And I think that since only one team did the sailboat supply, and we'll talk about that team in a second because we knew who was going to be and we knew how they were going to do.
Oh, bae, Brooke, I literally, okay, anyway, go ahead.
No, all right. I was going to say, okay, fine. So in fish fry, you had to spear and roast, like, I think it was 18 fish to get a clue. Now, I'm sorry, I have no. It just seemed really easy to me. Like, what did you have to do? Salt the fish? Like, they weren't even. First of all, why does nobody want to touch fish? Like, so many people are scared of fish. What? It's just fish. Like,
I come from a very black family. Okay, we fry fish. We cook like I was like so. First of all, it looked delicious to me.
Want live fish?
I would have been up in that sucker like. Salt them, okay. Listen, I would have been like,
"Where the garlic?" How Derek was like,
yeah, when Derek did the Salt Bae, and I was like, kind of mad that they didn't even highlight that more. He kind of did it a little bit, and I was like,
I was looking for music. Yeah, it was funny. So yes, and in Sailboat Supply, they had to inflate. So remember that, and then balance on a paddleboard with a cooler of ice and 8 life vests, and paddle it out to some yacht in the middle of the sea and deliver it. Which it looked like far, but it did look far, right? So almost everybody decides to do the fish fry. So Derek and Claire immediately go over and watch the demo. And they start doing it wrong, but immediately realize that it's the way you put the fish on the skewer. I guess that's the trick. Make sure you salt the fish. I guess that's the trick. And then, oh, sorry, go ahead. No, you go.
I was just gonna say, like, this was the kind of sort of irritating part for me was that, like, okay, like you had to put the heads of them like in the inside. But my thing was like, if it's about the plating of them, why does it matter which way you put them on the skewer? Because you could just flip them on the plate.
True. My problem with it was if you did something wrong, they were allowing you to take those skewers off, fix them, and then use them again. Like Aubrey and David forgot to salt their fish. And Derek helps them, which
that was that. I said, okay, they're good people because if you are my partner, Brooke, and as cool as everybody is, if you would have been Derek right now, I would have been like, Brooke, get your behind over here. But Claire did say that like their motto is they don't mind helping others as long as to the point where it becomes a hindrance or it's slowing them down, then it's like we can't help them. So I guess like fish was already cooking, so it was like they could kind of sort of help them out. But
well, was there any part of you that thought maybe if it was not Aubrey and David, they wouldn't have helped? I mean, Aubrey and David have sort of been toward the back, and then you have a very physically strong team that you know is behind you in Marcus and Michael. Do you think maybe they were helping Aubrey and David so that maybe Marcus and Michael fell a little bit further behind?
I mean, listen, it's a strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm not mad, but I just thought that was like really, 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 really nice because honestly, like they would have had to cook. And no, there was another thing of mine that I was like, okay, well, if you forget the salt, maybe after you put it on the plate,
that I think they would have said no. Because the whole point of these things is this is why it was bothering me. These kind of tasks are follow direction tasks. Make sure you follow what the demonstration is doing. Now, the demonstration didn't have you put the skewers on the heat and then salt them. And that seemed to be a pass. And so it bothered me, but honestly, whatever. A lot of things bother me. I'll get over it. So let's talk a little bit about Lewis and Michelle.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
We did not know the treat that we were in. First of all, when they saw surf and turf or fish and dip, Lewis was like, listen, we're in Spain, so my family we're going to come kill it. I was like, okay, paddleboard. Then when I saw that the paddle boards needed to be inflated, I said,
God.
Lewis
it was sand. It was stomping.
About to go crazy. And Lewis was like, you guys do it for people. And then mind you, at one point, I think Michelle is just sitting in the front like, and Lewis is
He was a monster. And I expected it. I was waiting for it. I was like, oh, he's going to go ham on this. And he went bananas. And it was a joy to watch. It was a pleasure. And these two are all, we practiced paddleboarding before.
Practiced.
Of course you did. Of course you did. They said they practiced a lot of stuff. I love this. I think it's very funny when someone's like, I practiced this, and then they're miserable at it. But these guys practiced it and they did fine. They were so excited about the fact that they were getting to do something that they practiced. And I think that given the fact that I believe this was a much harder detour and the more time-consuming detour, they had a lot of fun with it. The rule was if you spilled too much of the ice, you would have to do the whole thing again. Lewis was holding on to that ice cooler like it was his firstborn child.
It almost went over the paddleboard at one point. But my thing was like when Lewis finally got on it and they started paddling and you could actually see how far that boat was, I was like, oh my God. And also, thank God for the editing because Lewis is strong, but they were not going fast. Like I could tell that was a long paddle. But listen, Lewis did it with a smile on his face. They got there. They delivered it. Now, I also was cracking up when they got back. And they're like, woo, Spain, we did it. And everyone on the beach is just like, and they don't care. They're just like, we did it. We're back. Listen, I don't know why Lewis is like this, but I love it. We want to see more of it. I think it's very clear. My winner pick is Lewis and Michelle.
I know. And I think it's so funny and I think back about all the things they've done, whether he's like sliding across AstroTurf or it's just like rolling a thing of Parmesan cheese and he's like, yes! Like he's just so happy about everything he's done.
And when they were doing their confessionals, sitting on the side with the water behind them, if you look on Lewis's knee, he got some scrapes, and I was like, that's what you get for sliding on AstroTurf. But listen, we still love Lewis and Michelle. But again, I love everybody. I do. Like Derek and Claire. I love Will and Aubrey. Oh, no.
No. See, you did it too.
Sorry.
It was Will and Abby. You did it too. Aubrey and David.
Aubrey and David. I love their more personalities. I love the brothers. I love Emily and Molly. Those are my girls. But my heart this season, every season, my heart goes to somebody. I didn't know that they would get it so early, but we just love Lewis and Michelle.
Yeah, I mean, they're a joy to watch. So Emily and Molly to get there. Emily and Molly the ones who just literally ride by the cube on their bicycles?
Yes.
So this first of all, for anyone who didn't see it, this cube has to be 30 feet tall, and like it's huge and it's bright. It's like neon bright and huge. It's not hard to find. The episode shows them on their bicycle. It's right here. And they're like, oh, where is it? It should be on our left. And then it's like, wah, wah, it's right behind you. And then they finally find it. Meanwhile, at this time, which is about 36 minutes into the episode, Marcus and Michael are still at the puzzle. But they're supporting each other. Nobody's yelling. Nobody's getting down on anyone publicly. Michael's sort of like, I don't think we're ever going to be able to do this. We're going to be here forever. But once Marcus realized he had the back panel wrong, they fixed it and they were good to go. And they're psyched to get on the bicycles because they think they can close the gap. Now, here's the part of the episode that sort of made me, it's not really chuckle, but go, because Derek's all, I crash everything. I'm scared of bicycles. Michael was legitimately hit by a car while on a bicycle when he was 8 years old and had like a very small chance of surviving, like had a cerebral hemorrhage, and is still ready to go and conquer your fears. And then Marcus starts laughing at him and making fun of him, which makes me, I'm like, this is brotherhood.
I was like,
he's talking very seriously about and I almost didn't survive, but perseverance. And Marcus is like, just shut up. Like, I think that they are, I really like them. I don't know who I hope goes home, but I hope they don't go home.
I hope nobody goes home.
I know. Can we just write the editors and tell them to change it? So my favorite thing about this detour is, I love when both sides of the detour can see each other. Mm-hmm. So when Lewis and Michelle are doing the paddle boarding, you see Emily and Molly and Aubrey and David being like, oh, they're right there. And so anyway, Derek and Claire get out first. Then you have Aubrey and David who get out second because they cheat for them and tell them to salt the fish. Then you have Lewis and Michelle who got their third and left third. Just like you said, they kept their spot. And so Emily and Molly are at the fish. I don't think they're doing anything horribly wrong.
They look like they're doing really good. Is Molly all of a sudden is like trying to be like you cooking it too much. This one, and then like they're like falling apart off of the thing. And then even to her, and I guess this is what kind of pissed you off a little bit, because then I think Molly even says like what slowed us down was we didn't realize that even if like some of the fish off the skewers fell, like we could have still used them to plate.
No, that does piss me off. It's not how it should work. But what I will say is I kind of was hoping Emily wasn't hurt, because she talked about how she paddleboarded down the Colorado River with her daughter. So she was psyched. I think they would have been really good at the other half of the detour, but circumstances being what they were, they had to do this side to conserve her knee. And so after the detour is over, they get a postcard which tells them where to go for the next clue, and they get in this really sexy like Audi convertible and start driving to, I don't remember where in Spain, which is fine, but I don't know. Did they tell us? Hold on, let me check. Let me check the notes and see if they tell us. No, I don't think they tell us. If they do tell us, someone can correct me. So at the end of the episode, you have Derek and Claire, you have Aubrey and David, and you have Louis and Michelle in sexy Audi convertibles traveling to wherever they're going next Spain. You have Emily and Molly just got their fish on the skewers, and Marcus and Michael are still bicycling to the fish, and to be continued. And so, I hope they're driving somewhere far enough where they get a chance to catch up.
To like catch up a little bit. Yeah. But it ended, Marcus and Michael did catch up to the fish, and Emily and Molly had to do a tester, and it failed. And so Marcus and Michael had some fish on the grill. So
you're right. Yeah.
I love how like it's such in a game. And then, although I don't like this, but I do like it, but I don't. I like the fact that Michael was like, we love Emily and Molly, but we are committed to this. And if it comes down, so we have to run.
We'll push a bitch over. No, they didn't say that. No, they
didn't say that.
But
obviously, he was alluding like, she got that messed up knee, and we ain't gonna feel bad because like we're in. But here's the thing though, like I low-key love that. Like love that. Like that. Listen, we in here, Spo. But it's just like,
it's $1 million. I mean, I'm not gonna feel. They just look. These are lovely people. They met a couple weeks ago. So like, I don't care how much I love you after knowing you 2 weeks. I'm not going to give you $1 million. Like this is a race for $1 million. I'm not saying I'll push you over. I'll push you over. Like I'll do what I have to do. But it's like life-changing money.
I mean, no, yeah. And again, but I also love that. And I also love the determination, the underdog story of Emily and Molly, who like are by all means. And I also do feel like, I feel like I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because, last season I was like, when people get done their challenges, I don't like when people glow like, yeah. And then, here this season, I'm like,
you're like Louis and Michelle.
But I do, but honestly, I do feel like there is a difference because I don't feel like the way Louis does it, it's like he is just happy. Like it's not like I kind of sort of felt like at times.
No, the difference is you like Louis and Michelle so much that they can do no wrong. And last season when people were doing it that were people that you may have liked a little bit less, then it's not okay. No, I see through it.
I loved Ryan. Ryan is currently in this Zaddy calendar. Is that also a ploy for Louis?
I mean, Brice, let's be real here. Like Louis is not making it to your calendar.
Oh my God, I think we might have to.
Derek was angling for it, but let's get real.
I mean, but I love the fact that like again, Molly and Emily just have been like staying low to the ground. They've just been like that. The little train that could, or we're like the chugga 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 chugga. Like they've just been choo choo. Like they have just, I don't know. I can't find the words that I want to say aren't coming out, but I feel like the chugga 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 choo choo. That is like they've just been consistent. Yeah. And I respect it. Like I just love everybody at this point. I mean,
I know. It's kind of annoying. It's a love fest. We love them all.
I'm used to being like spicy and have a lot of things to say. Let's
find more things to complain about next week.
Okay, we'll have to. But I mean,
I'm just gonna make a list of gripes.
But
and I'll be like Brooke's gripes, episode 10. It's fine. So I will say next week, apparently a lot of people are scared of heights and there is some crying. So, okay, as someone who cried every episode, even when I didn't cry, it would look like I was crying. That's fine. I'm looking for some other people to maybe shed some tears. Not like in pain or hurt, but like make it hard.
Yes.
It's The Amazing Race. Make it hard. Make it harder than throwing a couple of fish on a grill.
Don't do that. Don't do that. The fish looked good. Grace. And then also, they had to eat the fish at the end.
One of them had to eat the fish at the end. Also, make them both eat fish.
First of all, I'd have been tearing that up. I'd have been tearing. It looked good. Like fresh off that smoked wood. I'd been like, yeah, that looked good. But listen, this has been your pit stop for season 34, episode 9. Hope everyone has a happy and healthy Thanksgiving next week. Brooke and I will be back. We bringing our computers to our family's house, so we will give you the pit stop next week.
I might be 5 pounds heavier from turkey, but listen, you know what? I don't care.
I'm still
this is
35 pounds of pasta and wine from Italy, but it's okay.
But
we'll be back. Brooke Camhi, thank you as always. Brooke, where can the people follow you? And if they want to wish you a happy holiday.
Yay! I'll wish you back a happy holiday. The Facebook is me. The Instagram is it's just my name. And then Instagram is at the real B Camhi, and Instagram and Twitter, if that's still a thing.
Okay.
And I'm not on any of the other things. So that's it.
That's it. Well, this has been your pit stop. Thank you, Brookie Pooh. We'll be back next week.
Sounds good. Bye.
It's the Purple Pants, it's the Purple Pants, it's the Purple Pants podcast. You better get your headphones and listen up quick. Ooh. It's the Purple Pants podcast. You better listen in public, might make your stomach hurt. Ooh. It's the Purple Pants podcast. You're trying to unwind, you better get that box wine. It's the Purple Pants podcast. You're trying to get your snack, you better hurry right back though. It's the Purple Pants, it's the Purple Pants.